with another episode of Eat This, Drink That. We have Ali Khan, food expert. We got Steve, our beverage expert. Today we are doing another how-to with Steve. So Steve, what is your drink that for today?
So we could call this Negroni Part 2. We're going to do a variation, but it is its own drink. It's called the Boulvardier. It's a...
Never heard of that one.
We'll keep it Negroni Part 2, because who on earth is going to be like, hey, I just watched this video about a Boulvardier and I can't wait to get it.
Yeah, I was in all my
years
make
of
it at
drinking.
Home. Yeah, I've never heard of this drink before, ever.
Yeah.
If it was on a menu, I didn't notice it. I don't know. Just never heard of it. So I'm very interested to figure out what it is.
That's a good point. I doubt many people put this on a menu. Maybe some of the classic mixology joints might do that.
Would it be on a French menu, perhaps only?
Well, no, because this is an American who was an expat in Paris. Okay. I don't know if he created the cocktail, but it's named after his magazine.
Oh, okay.
And it is a bourbon-based Negroni, so it really is an American drink.
Okay,
because
gotcha.
It's bourbon.
The name threw me off.
We're still using the same three basic ingredients: a spirit, a bitter, an Amaro, and a sweet vermouth. So in this recipe, I'm cutting back this. It's not 1 to 1 to 1. It's 1.5 to 3/4 to 3/4. It's a little bit different. I want it bourbon forward.
I have to pour a 3/4 shot?
Too much math.
I'd love to buy more things.
Yeah. Well, and like we were saying before, Campari you should have at your house. There's a lot of things you can do with Campari. We're going to use bourbon. I had two different bourbons today, both from Four Roses.
Four Roses.
I'm a big Four Roses fan. I'm going to use the basic one because I have a little bit left.
Okay.
So this, I
Nothing
like
but
using
the best,
a lot.
everyone. Greer's Dregs.
Yes. Small batch, Four Roses. You can also single barrels. You can play around with, I like a little higher proof. You could do a 90 if you have one.
Really quick, single barrel versus small batch. You talked up single barrel in the past. How do they compare real quick?
Single barrel is literally just that. So in the big rack houses, it might have 3 stories. You might have one corner of a rack house that faces the sun all day long. Another back corner doesn't. There's different variations of aging that happen almost like a microclimate within these rack houses.
Okay.
So a barrel in the northwest corner is going to taste completely different than the first floor southeast corner barrel. So the master distiller or a buyer will taste through the barrels and say, I love this one.
Okay.
That's a single barrel. So all 25 cases came out of that barrel, only that barrel, and it is not blended with anything else.
I see. So
a small batch would be a blend.
Small batch is just that. This was produced in a small batch, aged, and then bottled. This is 45%. This is 90 proof. I love this little bourbon.
Okay.
Cool. It's gotten expensive. This, I think, was $50. Whereas the basic Four Roses, well, there is one underneath this, the yellow label. And the yellow label sees some 10-year in it. But I like stepping up just a little bit from the yellow label. I think this is 25 still. It could be 30. Bourbon's not cheap anymore. Old Forester, we've talked on the show before. You could definitely use an Old Forester. I have a lot of Four Roses. I have a lot of bourbon. Then we're using Campari.
Okay.
Sweet vermouth. The sweet vermouth I like to use is Carpana Antica. You can certainly use Dolan sweet vermouth.
Those are classic elements of the Negroni, minus the bourbon.
Spirit, sweetness, bitter.
Got it.
So an Amaro, there's 2 classes of an Amaro. An Amaro is a bitter digestif or aperitivo. Italians made it. I'm actually, for another variation, we'll use Well, I'll tell you later in another episode. Campari is an aperitivo, whereas Fernet, the classic Amaro, is a digestif that you have right at the end of the meal. You do a shot. To Ali's point in the Negroni episode, these are insider cocktails that not everybody really thinks of ordering. I think these are amazing cocktails, easy to craft at home. Once you play around with different variations, you're going to find one that you really like. You can also change the ratios. You can up the sweet vermouth to have it a little more sweet and less bitter, and use less Campari. Or you could use Aperol instead of Campari. They're identical, but Aperol is sweeter than Campari. So play around with them. These are a lot of fun. Traditionally, I have these after dinner. This is a post-dinner cocktail. So let's dive in. I have my tin. I don't like building these in the glass. I like to build them in the tin. Do a quick stir, 10 seconds. Chill it down a little bit. And then I go into my glass. Whoops, where did I put my glass? Sorry, guys. Hold on.
Over there. A little tipsy over there.
Yeah, I think I know why these are insider drinks. Everything is alcohol based, right? Like the average cocktail, people are doing 1 part vodka and then 2 parts watering it down, right, with something sweet.
Yeah, you're right.
They're just like, let's do alcohol. Let's throw some for flavor. Let's add some alcohol. Yeah.
And then... Nah, you're right though, and maybe. That's, when I was thinking about these earlier, and I was like, a lot of people aren't thinking about these drinks yet, because like Johnny Slob is like, I'll just have a 7 and 7. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, there's no alcohol in 7-Up, so it's
Yeah.
But therein lies something interesting, which is like, are you really going to embrace the flavor, or are you trying to mask how you get your buzz on? You know what I mean? Because one kind of speaks to a volume.
Yes.
Or you can be a professional and suck these things down. You're like, I'm used to it by now.
I'd rather drink better and a little bit less. We talk about this all the time. Elevate what you're drinking. You're not getting lazy and just drinking alcohol spiked water like you're sitting around drinking a
big industry though.
It's huge.
Hard water.
Why would you do that? Seltzer water, hard seltzer water.
Yeah.
Have a cocktail that you crafted at home or at a restaurant, and it's a better experience. Yeah. It's more memorable.
That's kind of our motto. Life's too short for White Claw. Drink a Negroni.
Why be lazy?
And I mean, this is going to be cutting down on the hangovers, right? Because most people, if they're doing Coke or Sprite, I mean, you're getting that sugar hangover the next morning too, right?
Yes, you are.
And obviously bartenders want to avoid hangovers as much as possible.
Yes, exactly.
Because they're going to be up all night until the next service.
Yeah, they have to work the next day doing the same thing.
So, Boulvardier, bourbon based. We have bourbon, we have Campari, we have sweet vermouth. Ratios change. We're going up on the bourbon. So, Ali, you're going to like this. It's sweeter and less bitter.
And so it's 1.5 bourbon, you said?
Yep, 1.5 bourbon. Then we're going to go 3/4 Campari, 3/4.
And are you measuring?
So are you just eyeballing the 3/4 mark?
He's measuring in a. Okay.
No, this one I'm using a jigger. So you have 4 measurements in a jigger. This side is 2 ounces,
right,
and 1.5 ounces. This side is 3/4 and 1/2 ounce.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
For real?
Wait, I thought it was just 2 and 1. But,
me too.
And I doubt you'll be able to see this, but inside is a graduated line inside both sides. So if you fill it to the top, this one is 1 ounce, 3/4, 1/2.
Let's be real. For people like me and Crosby, we're just like, let's make it the big one.
Yeah.
I'm only looking at one line, the rim.
Yeah.
The rim.
Yeah. Well, and then this is
filling a little
2
too.
and 1.5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go 3/4. Yeah. We're going 3/4.
Oh my God, we are slobs.
Don't
I love it.
Don't ask.
And then we're going to go Campari, 3/4.
And
Damn
so
it!
is this?
Now I am gonna freaking buy a bottle.
This is
of
in the
Campari.
smaller part. Steve, give us a visual. The next 3/4 shot that you pour.
So that's the smaller side.
And is that up to the top or no?
No, it's just below.
Just
There's
below.
a graduated line
Gotcha.
that says 3/4. You'll be able to read these all the way through.
Oh, I see. So the small one, you can do 1, 3/4, and a half.
Yep.
Okay.
And
gotcha.
this side, 2, 1.5.
And then maybe
And
1.
mine doesn't have another graduated. It's just 2 on this
Okay.
side.
Awesome.
And then I'm just doing a quick stir, 10 seconds. I'm really mixing it and chilling it down just a touch. I'd rather have very little dilution, but temperature come down. Then I strain into my rocks glass.
Beautiful.
Look at that color.
Wow.
I love the color on Negronis. And again, bourbon. The Campari is a bitter orange, aperitivo, Amaro. Bourbon and oranges kind of play well together. So I'm just going to do a peel of orange without taking my finger and the pith. You know, you don't want it to be super pithy.
Okay.
I don't like this peeler. I just realized.
What about any other citrus? Could they use a lemon? Is that used?
So you could in other variations.
I
and
see.
We'll
Not
talk
the
about
bourbon
this.
one. Okay.
Yeah, not the bourbon. I prefer the orange.
We're going with the orange.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. He's ready to watch
The bourbon,
candles.
because it's a higher proof and we're at 1.5 ounces, it really shines through in this cocktail.
Right, because the gin's higher proof, but we only have 1 ounce for the traditional.
And gin doesn't really need more assertiveness because the juniper in a regular Negroni, gin-based Negroni, juniper is pretty assertive.
Giving a lot of
So
flavor.
it speaks through no matter the proof or the
This
ounce.
is why you like a higher proof in the bourbon, though, too, because the Negroni, that alcohol can be aggressive.
I like spirit-forward, assertive cocktails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it a waste of time for someone to use a Jack or a Jim Beam for one of these drinks? You say just bump it up and get a nicer.
I always think, just like ingredients for food, don't use, I'm not going to say crap for these, but use better ingredients. I'm not slamming on Jim Beam and Jack Daniels. I personally don't like Jack Daniels. Jim Beam is fine. Why not up it? Make a better cocktail.
Okay.
You're at home. Your ingredient, your price levels go up a little bit, but not substantially enough. And in the case of Boulvardier, 1.5 ounces. So out of a single bottle, you're going to get 18 cocktails out of this bottle of bourbon.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I would just, my 2 cents with it, Old Forester is plenty cheap enough. It is
Yes, I agree.
extremely affordable bourbon. That's the crazy thing is it's pretty damn decent. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
you know, like if
like
you were to really kind of go, like, honestly, for me, absolute bang for your bourbon buck. If you're looking at just that,
I agree.
And I would almost wager, like, it's so good. If I had to compare it to, I do enjoy $50+ bottles of bourbon, but like I feel like Old Forester isn't. Its quality does not reflect its price differential.
No.
You could, and then I'd throw this out there too. I would do an interesting taste test between Basil Hayden, which I can get for like $30 a bottle. That's
Yep.
solid bourbon.
Basil's still very good and very inexpensive.
That rips on its own, completely good. Not the highest proof though. But yeah, I mean, I think, like, honestly, Old Forester. I've only had Four Roses. I've only had the single barrel, which was ridiculously smooth.
Yeah.
As soon as I finished that bottle and I switched to a Clyde Mays, I was like, "Ooh, that's it felt like moonshine." But bottom line, Old Forester, like, you really can't. That should be as low as you. That's as affordable as I think anyway.
Yeah, and it's $20. Four Roses that we use today, I think it's 25.
Yeah.
plan on spending $20 to $30.
You
can go up from there.
2 liter for a good price. I mean, you can get the jug of Old Forester for a good price.
Yeah.
What about Maker's Mark and Buffalo Trace? Those are two other popular ones.
Buffalo, I like.
So, I think they're a little lighter in flavor.
Okay.
Four Roses, second grain, or it's a high rye recipe. Maker's is a wheat recipe, so it's softer. That's why people love just sipping on Maker's. It's really creamy, smooth. I like the rye based, the high rye recipes because that spice from the rye really shines through. In the case of Basil's, I can't remember the second grain on Basil's.
Buffalo.
He was mentioning Basil's earlier, and then Buffalo. These are softer bourbons.
Okay.
I'd rather have a little more assertive bourbon.
All right.
And Buffalo though is a pretty solid, especially if you're out at a bar.
Yes.
What a bar's going to charge? Buffalo, ride it out. Maker, that might make you feel a little weird. Like I don't think Maker's as good as I used to think it was before the plethora of bourbon came up on the scene.
I feel like Maker's is sort of that's sort of I feel like a lot of people's introduction to getting out of Jack and Jim Beam's radar. Right.
It's a Maker one for sure, but I feel like in this day and age, there's better out there. And Old Forester is at the store, freaking like the steal, I think.
I'm also a big Wild Turkey fan. That's a assertive bourbon. Maker's Mark used to make a gold label 101 proof that was unbelievable. And then it all goes to Japan now. All of it. It was pulled out of the American market, taken to Japan. Maybe you can still get it over there. I don't know.
I got a bottle of it for Christmas last year. And actually, I'll plug it. There's an IG from last year. There is an IG friend of mine runs called Whiskey to Life. This guy's like, it's just his bourbon nerddom is like, I'm like, I literally like, he starts talking, I'm like, okay, I know nothing. I'm just gonna shut up. Like it's insane. It's like, like a flat earther talking to like, the guy who like got Apollo 13 back on Earth. You know what I mean? Just destruction. He got me that Maker's because, I remember I used to like get up into the Maker's because I was like, oh, I can drink whiskey. I like this stuff before it was a thing, before the old fashioned thing hit. And then I jumped back into, I had a Maker's randomly at a bar a couple years ago and I was like, damn, that is not that good. Then he sent me this bottle and I was like, okay. I mean, it looked different. It was good. And it wasn't that. And of course, like, I totally shamed the whole moment of the gift moment and like Googled how much this whiskey was because I sent him one. And I was like, I wonder who spent more. Wasn't that expensive from when I Googled it. But it was hot. Like this man likes it hot. 100+ degree days. You know what I mean? I think what's a trip about this stuff too, tangent about whiskey is there's like Jim Beam makes. Jim Beam has their affordable version. They make a crap ton of other whiskeys too. They're super expensive. So boom.
There's a lot of whiskey that's made.
Steve,
I think there's 7.5 million barrels of bourbon aging in Kentucky right now.
What about
almost double the population?
I was going to ask, what about a 101 proof in this drink? Is that going to be too much? Maybe.
Yeah, you could cut it back a little bit. I like 90s for cocktails. There's the balance of heat from the alcohol and the sweetness from the bourbon itself.
All right.
There's no reason why you can't go to 101, 110.
Okay.
But
might be too
these are 90s. What I'm using are 90s. Actually, I think this Four Roses, this is just 80 proof.
Oh. Okay.
I'm using this because I'm right at the end.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Then I can go buy more bourbon. I already have too much bourbon.
Let's see that cocktail again, Steve. Let's see. Let's see the visual of it.
Yeah. Boulevardier. So
it is a great
Negroni. Drink. You don't have to say Boulevardier all the time. You can just say Bourbon Negroni.
Bourbon Negroni. Oh, there we go.
So is there a flavor profile of whiskey that you feel like is more warranted in here than others? Like something a little more sharper, a little hotter?
Yeah, the rye-based,
Rye-based.
high rye whiskeys, bourbons.
Okay.
All right.
The rye provides a spicy nature to the flavor profile
Uh-huh.
that gets away from the vanilla and the caramel,
Mm.
and then you get this cutting spice.
Okay.
I like high rye.
All right. There's a whiskey I like a lot called Noah's Mill. It's gotten expensive.
So that's my secret bourbon that I don't like telling people about because it is unbelievable.
It's good stuff.
It's gotten up in price a little bit.
It is.
I think
It
it's
used to be like
75.
50, now it's like
Yeah.
65, whatever.
Used to be $40.
Wow. Used to be. Things used to be
Yeah.
a certain way, you know what I mean?
And
So they
I think I saw it. I almost picked it up. It's 78. It's close to $80 now.
I mean, it's strong. It's amazing.
Mhm.
It's got a almost like a cork
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
So there's
It is.
another one that I feel like it's connected to it. It's a little cheaper. It's a little rougher around the edges, called Rowan's Creek.
Yep. It is connected and it is rougher.
Rowan's Creek it's good, but it's hot and it's feisty, right? It's
Yeah.
a feisty one. I'm really curious about trying Rowan's Creek because it is a good whiskey. It's just a little tough. It's just not smooth. You know what I mean? Straight up.
Right.
And it's not
smooth.
It's just it's just what it is. I want to try a Rowan's Creek in this drink. I feel like
You're on the right path.
I want something that's going to be,
Assertive.
you know, like
Yes.
I want the tiger's claw.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, dog.
That's it.
I'm
Great.
kind of
You want
excited for that
assertive.
because it's a whiskey that like it's a little too rough around the edges when I normally have it, but I'm thinking now, you know, as like with all these other very strong, interesting flavors. Be interesting.
What it would be doing.
Wait till we get to another episode. Because
What are we eating with this? That's the real question. What?
So this to me is a post-dinner cocktail.
It's always
I like these, the bitter, the sweet, all of it. Just this cocktail to me is after you've had dinner, you're sitting down, you're relaxing, you're having one more or two, because these go down really smooth for me. This is a post-dinner cocktail.
All right. Well, let's wrap this one up, gentlemen. We got the bourbon Negroni.
I'm
the
down.
Boulvardier.
I'm gonna buy Campari now. You've convinced.
Yeah.
You've convinced
An
me.
essential for everyone's home bar. Thank you guys for this episode. We're going to keep posted. We're going to do another episode that also plays on this theme. We're going to have 3 total. So we'll see you guys for the next one.
See you guys.
Bye.
Ciao.